Okay, good afternoon. Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of Hiring and Inspiring, hosted by myself, Joe Cutler, a show aimed at talking all things sales, recruitment, business, and everything in between. Now, today we have my first guest on the show, an old friend, an old colleague, goes by the name of Adam Sampana. Adam, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much. There's a lot of pressure being the first being the first guest, mate. So thank you very much.
All good, mate. All good. So just an intro into Adam. Hopefully I get this right, mate. So you grew up in the Philippines, lived there 15 years, moved to Australia, and then went to school in Australia, went to university in Australia, did a couple of different sort of jobs, and then started working in recruitment. You're 25-ish? Mid-20s?
Well, at the moment,
No, when you
I
started
look
working.
25. I look 25, but yeah, I started 25 with BMS. I'm now still 25.
Yeah, so you started at 25 and then you've been working with BMS. We actually did pretty similar journeys. We've both worked at BMS for 7 years. Adam progressed through the ranks. We've worked in the same industries, recruiting technical salespeople. And now we sort of, he sort of co-directs our business unit. And here we are 7 years later. So that's a little bit intro into Adam.
7 years, is it?
Yeah, 7 years.
Long
mate.
time.
January 2016, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, correct.
So if we just go back in time, now I want this chat to be, obviously me and you know each other well, we're good friends, we talk every day, but I want this chat to be a little bit, maybe to find out some things that I never knew about you. I want to talk about some stuff that we maybe don't talk about every day in our day-to-day chats. So just as a starting point, if we go back to that 25-year-old self, when you first got into recruitment, tell me about how that even happened, because I don't even think I know. Like, how did you initially get into the world of recruitment?
Yeah, great question. I think 25, 26, long time ago now. I'm 32. Well, yeah, turning 32. No, I'm turning
You are
33.
32 already.
Oh, I'm turning 33, so a long time ago. How did it all start? So I think there was a point at that time that I know that I want to make money, right?
Yeah.
I was studying psychology at that time, and for me to earn money using psychology, I need to study another 4 years. And to be honest with you, I'm not that smart to get into the medical side of things. I was working as a blood collector.
Yeah.
I think at that point around 4 years or 5 years then. So I started. Sorry, before I get into that, I know I want to get into sales because that's how I can use my skills, which is talking.
Yeah.
And I know I can make money straight away. So I was just focusing on applying to any jobs that are sales, focusing on companies that are that has good training.
Yeah.
That was the most important thing for me. I think I did that for a week, and I did about 3 interviews.
Yeah.
I can vividly remember it. One for a company that sells wine. That interview was in, I think, Seven Hills, and the sales manager asked me sell a pen. So I was like, oh crap, okay. I don't think I didn't get a call back, so I don't think I did that well. The second interview was with a recruiter at Southern Sydney. I had to catch a 2-hour train ride there. Interviewing me. He's got a sofa. I was sitting on the sofa, really small space. He was asking me a lot of different things about why sales, et cetera, et cetera. I remembered it to be a good interview. He didn't get me in the interviews, though, with his clients. He got me, I think, one marketing. I wasn't keen on that.
Yeah.
And then on the way home, I can vividly remember I was on the train back to St. Mary's, Penrith. You've been to our, Western Sydney.
Western Sydney.
And one of the consultants for BMS called me, saying, "Oh, thank you very much for applying. We really like your background." Asked me a few questions, and he's like, "Okay, when are you available to do an interview?" I was like, "Well, I'm already suited at the moment. On my way back, I can go back to North Sydney. How about in 2 hours' time, 4 p.m."
So you turned around and went back into...
I got off at Stratfield,
Yeah.
and then got the Stratfield line to North Sydney and came back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I did an interview. I did a couple of interviews with them, and then the consultant came back into the room, asked me a lot of different questions, did a role play, and asked me, "Oh, how much you know about recruitment?" I was like, "I got no idea. The most important
Yeah.
thing for me is training, etc." And they were like, "Okay, well, how about recruitment? This is what we do, blah blah." Kind of explained to me what it does,
Yeah.
and it seems like I impressed them enough, and I got a second round interview with BMS.
Yeah. Okay.
And I did I think the second interview was pretty brutal. It was a role
Role
play on
play.
the
Yeah.
spot, a role play on the spot with the directors. So I was like, oh, got nothing. I don't know what to do. So yeah, so that's pretty much how it started and how I get into it.
Yeah. It's nice. So you, just going back then. So you had done a degree, right? You'd done a degree in psychology. Did you finish that?
I finished that.
Yeah. And
It was a long journey towards
yeah.
that.
And you were working and doing the blood sampling as well, like on the side with the study. And then you're like, right, I want to start my career now. I want to make some money. That's when you turned to it. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. Before I was a little bit, I was doing full-time work, full-time uni. Then
Yeah.
because I was on my second, third, fourth year, I can just do it online. So I was pretty much
Yeah.
full-time
Okay.
taking blood. During the weekends, I was actually working for Woolworths, pick and packing as
Oh
well.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I got my physique at the moment. It's lifting chicken and beers. But yeah, so working, but then I was like, okay, what's next? How am I going to be just taking blood for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And psychology, I had not a lot. There was a lot of options unless I
Yeah.
keep studying.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty much it.
So obviously that was 7 years ago, and then you've worked for BMS ever since. You're still here. Been quite a journey, I imagine. Well, I know it has been because I've been there with you, but it's been quite a journey from then to now. How would you describe that journey? How's it been? Just tell me about the journey you've been on in the 7 years of recruitment.
The journey was like we always say this is the roller coaster.
Yeah.
The first day, quite anxious because I have a Filipino accent. It was an open office. I was like, oh God, I have to practice in front of everyone who sounds very good already.
Yeah.
And I was there,
Nervous.
nervous. I was like, it's Adam from BMS. But then that initial learning phase, you get to chatting, to everyone, make friends, get some success. You're on the high recruitment, and the next day feels like you don't know anything because you keep making mistakes. You're not getting anywhere. So I think the journey was up and down, but trending up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Up and down, but trending up. I think from the first 2 years was a little bit of a difficult time because it was my first sales job.
Yeah.
But all the support that I got from even yourself, Matt, our bosses, was really good. So it made it fun, challenging, and rewarding at the same time. Progressing pretty much every year, and 7 years, and still happy.
So you mentioned the first couple of years were especially challenging. Often the case, any kind of sales job, any kind of recruitment job. What, and I always think about this, but what did you, and looking back now, what kind of lessons did you learn from that initial 2 year, that it was, real challenge for you, as you said?
I think less about the job itself and more about how you react to things.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like learning more about yourself more than anything. So to elaborate on that, for example, you get all the theories on how to sell. They tell you the process of how to sell, etc. You do your 100 calls, 25 DMs, one job. You do that every day. However, when you get big wins and big losses, you kind of learn how to deal with it, or you kind of see how your self deal with that type of
What you're made of.
scenarios. What you're made of. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I lost a 20 grand deal. How did I react to it? Because there's two different things, right? The one thing is you think you're going to react one way, but when you're actually in that scenario, you reacted a different way. So kind of like learning how to process it, compartmentalize, and everything.
Yeah, gotcha. So after that sort of initial, couple of years where it was tough, you then made a bit of progress, and the last couple of years, I hope you don't mind me saying, you've been really successful. Was there like a moment which was like a light bulb moment that clicked for something for you, or something that changed, or was it just that sort of gradual like trending up and down, but then a sort of gradual sort of trending upwards, sort of progression in recruitment in your career?
There's a lot of click moments or
Yeah.
light bulb moments in this job. I think the first click was, okay, you gotta do this activity to get to this point, or you gotta phrase this question in a different way to get this specific answer, or learning a market, construction, learning this product goes into this market, and whatever that may be. So there's a lot of clicks, but I think the main turning point for me was when I kind of when I was able to compartmentalize a lot of different things all at the same time. So,
What do you mean?
for example, if I'm having a bad day on phone calls, I'm trying to go to the next phone call having a better frame of mind, instead of that bad phone call kind of seeps into
Yeah.
every other activities on the day. Or if I lose a big deal, let's say in the morning, I'll be useless for the next 2 days.
Yeah.
So I think being more resilient and being able to compartmentalize, every aspect of the job, even outside of work.
Yeah.
If I'm having if the missus is not happy with me, sometimes I'm not.
Most of the time, isn't it?
Most of the time, yeah, you're not wrong. If I'm in the doghouse, I won't be able to focus well at work.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of like kind of compartmentalize
Yeah.
it and still be effective.
Yeah. You definitely, when your role switched as well, that was one of the great moves, wasn't it? When you switched from, doing the client side to more the candidate side on the consulting thing. Obviously, that was many years ago now, but that was maybe 2 or 3 years into your time.
Yeah.
That just made sense, didn't it? That was just one of that was a real step up for you, and it was just instantly you were just more energized. You just suddenly were just a lot more. You're performing a lot better.
Yeah,
in the role.
I think it's testament that strengths with people. You just need to figure out what that is.
Yeah.
You don't have to pigeonhole one person to this one role. You gotta. That's the challenge at the moment. Is how do we find out the strength? Where is it? And like looking for it. Once you find it, it's quite satisfying, because now, okay, perfect. I found it. Okay, how do we level it up even more?
I think, and also another level up for you was actually probably around the pandemic time, where the makeup of the team changed a bit. We had 1 or 2 people leave just before the pandemic, and then you stepped into a more of a leadership type role for the team and across the wider business. We sort of survived 2020, the worst market conditions we've worked in.
That's tough.
We scrapped through that, but that was almost maybe myself was included in that, the making of us a little bit. That was, and it was weird because that was one of the hardest years we had, but it turns out
It's one of the best years.
yeah, looking back and in terms of the stuff you learn about yourself, like, we're talking about what you're made of. That was, and again, probably a real turning point for yourself. I don't know if you agree.
I think not just for myself. I think for us, because we kind of like, if I'm feeling a certain way, you kind of just balance me out. If you're feeling a certain way, I balance you out. So it's kind of like we're helping each other during a difficult time, and we kind of learned. I think it emphasized our strengths and kind of helped each other in that way as well. So you forcing me to do podcasts and stuff like that, which was out of my comfort zone.
Good. I always want to push it, mate. Same for me. So that was quite a big achievement that year in a weird way. But what would you say I don't know, like a career highlight or biggest achievement so far in recruitment? What would you say that would be?
That's difficult. 7 years, biggest achievement in recruitment. I would say, I'm not too sure if this is a little bit of a cheating answer, or a cheat of an answer, but I think the biggest achievement for me is helping other people develop. For example,
Yeah.
yeah, Isa, Levina, even in a way yourself when it comes to looking at things that's not really part of your day to day, but trying to
Mm.
if you're trying to expand your responsibility, trying to help you in that way. But I think helping people from zero knowledge when it comes to our process, and then them becoming a really good prospect down the
Yeah.
line. I think that's one of the biggest achievements that I would say is very important.
Very selfless of you, man. I think no, it's a good point, and you can apply that to the wider recruitment sort of context. And this is a sort of mindset switch I had maybe a few years back, where it's more like to do the day-to-day job, like when you're actually trying to help that candidate get a job, or when you're actually trying to help that client, that company recruit and fill that vacancy, solve that problem. Same like you said, trying to develop your team, and you can apply that to recruitment in the day-to-day job of it. So a mindset switch for me was like when I went from like, right, how can I get this, get this person to give me a job vacancy to help hit my KPIs or help hit my target. When I went from like that kind of like a selfish perspective to actually like, right, how can I help this company? Like actually believing that how can I help them, or how can I help this candidate get a new job? That kind of trying to be a little bit more selfless. And it is a bit cheesy, but like when you actually apply that to the job, that was a little bit of a game-changing moment for me in my sort of recruitment journey. And it sounds like that was, obviously, at least to mention that's your biggest achievement. Like it speaks volumes, probably.
Yeah, well, I can relate to your journey as well. Like you mentioned, that turning point. I think the reason why you had that turning point is because you're not really thinking about what to do each call or every call. You're more thinking about the next level. Okay, how can I make this business better? This is what I am now. I feel like I kind of have a good understanding of what the job is. Okay, the best way to improve the business now is through through this the betterment of other people. So you have that knowledge to impart,
Yeah.
and also I think that's just natural progression, really. I feel like if you're selfish in this type of leadership role, you're not gonna go anywhere. Might as well just stay, yeah, just stay, doing the grunt work every day instead of leading.
Yeah. Just on that point then, the leadership point, you have progressed from, the 25-year-old bloke coming in and didn't know anything about anyone, junior person to progressing and heading up the team. How have you found that transition throughout the years? And kind of what sparked you? Because I didn't, when I first met you, I didn't necessarily think this guy's like a natural leader. No offense.
Thanks, man.
But somehow just over the years you progressed into a really great leader. So how have you sort of done that, and how have you found that sort of leadership journey?
Funny enough, I had this conversation with Matt like the first 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And the one thing that was stopping me from becoming a leader was my emotion. I was just too high or too low.
Okay.
And being a leader, you need to be the level-headed, always calm, and understanding how to plan and how to react to scenarios. I think that was the key element that was missing. And when I was able to kind of control that a little bit, I was able to I was able to focus more on okay, what's next then? Okay, we lost that. Okay, what's next? How do we plan this? Okay, it's a little bit of a struggle at the moment. What's the plan? Kind of, I was more calm and I was more collected, so that if there's a challenge, I can plan it out. I can have a chat to you guys
Yeah.
and have a clear mind instead of just crumbling and panicking.
Is that just an experience thing, just over time, or was that, or you just getting a bit older and getting a bit more wise, a bit more mature, like managing the emotions? Like, how did you sort of do that?
I don't know if I did it. I think number one, I was conscious about what I feel, so I was conscious in terms of how do I improve that. But also, I think life experiences outside of work as well.
Yeah.
Traveling to Philippines, where there's a lot more, there's bigger problems than our job. I think
Yeah.
putting everything into perspective was important, but also experience doing the job. knowing the job and the cycle of a job. For example, you find the job, you find the candidate, it didn't work out. Okay, what's next? Kind of like having that assurance that you have the skills. You just have to keep doing it and making sure that you're not cutting corners. And if you do that, I think you're going to get to the goal that you're looking for. Before, it was like every lost fee or every lost deal, it was like the end of the world, because I was like, oh, that was the last deal I was ever going to get. But really, it's unrealistic.
I guess just that's the experience talking, then, isn't it? Like once you do this job or do the job for a long time, and you kind of just the confidence of, even if you lose a deal or something doesn't go right, the fact you've done it before, and when you lose it, you kind of like, oh, I'm never going to get there again. Like, that's the only deal I'm ever going to close. Yeah. But then once you do it for a number of years and you go, well, I've done the work to get there, I can do the work again. It just helps, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like having that belief in yourself that you know what to do. You just need to do it. You can be upset, but don't be upset for too long.
Off topic a little bit there, but you just mentioned about going back to the Philippines. I'm curious so you grew up there, right, as a child growing up there. How did your upbringing there, do you think, affects, who you are today? Like, how is that? Because I feel like it has massively, even though you've lived in Australia now probably more time than that, time in the Philippines. But how was the upbringing in the Philippines sort of affected, as I say, who you are today?
Yeah, so my family, pretty much my mom and dad, they have a lot of businesses. They have an automotive business, they have food businesses, etc. And then
is that pretty common?
I think yes, in the Philippines, because there's not a lot of employment opportunity, especially in the province. If you're employed in the province, you don't get a lot of money, because it's there's a provincial rate and there's a Manila rate, and the provincial rate is pretty much.
What does that mean? What does the province mean? I don't know what that means.
So a provincial rate is kind of like you're getting paid less because you're living in the province. Standard of living.
What is that like? Just anywhere outside of Manila? Sorry.
Yeah. Anywhere outside of Manila. Oh. Manila rate, because it's expensive, you get paid more. Right. So a lot of people in the Philippines, they have their own businesses, and it's quite common over there. Over here in Australia, I feel like if you have your own business, it's quite tough. It's very difficult to operate.
Get off the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Over there, it's normal. So we have a lot of businesses. I think we're quite comfortable, I would say. But then my sister moved to Australia. Everyone pretty much moved to Australia, so we kind of like have to start from scratch again.
Yeah.
And obviously, living in the Philippines, having a good life there is not comparable to a good life in Australia. So I feel like living in the Philippines and seeing all the business problems, the personal problems that the people around me gave me a little bit of a perspective, and also gave me a taste of what I can achieve if I work hard. I.e., if I have a good income or good life outside of work as well. It's kind of like I can support my family or other people around me, because
that's quite that's quite a big sort of driver for you, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Even like now to this day.
Yeah, of course. Like, I think in the Philippines, we're very tight knit when it comes to helping each other out. I'm not only working for myself at the moment. I'm working for a lot of people, to help each other, and they're doing the same to me.
You feel the pressure with that, or?
Pressure? Not really. No pressure. Just because I know that they're doing the same for me. It's not like it's only me, but my missus, my brother, all of that, they're doing all for each other.
Yeah. So just going back then to when you moved to Australia, then how did you find that? Because that must have been like a big shock, right?
That was tough.
What, 15 years old?
15. Yeah. So third year, what is that? Ninth grade. I moved over here, so it's kind of like an awkward time, because you come over here, everyone's friends already.
Yeah, it's an awkward time anyway. Like if you were just, a normal, not normal, but like just, not moving to a different country. throw in the mix of moving to a different country, new continent, new culture. Like I can't even imagine. Yeah, language. Yeah, I can't even imagine what that would have been like.
I was very conscious about it because Filipino accent. I went to all so I went to a school where there's only me that's Filipino, right?
Yeah.
So it was quite tough. It was quite tough. I was very conscious about my accent, the way I talk, the way I look, etc.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I guess I think you mentioned before, like again, just going back to like lessons learned in recruitment. You probably learned a bit about yourself then. Developed a bit of a thick skin at that time as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think you can relate to it. It's like you go through all the ups and downs of recruitment. From getting hung up on, getting told that you're not doing your job well, and listening to the recordings of your calls. Is this me? Oh, that's terrible. The first job taking call that was difficult. You're speaking to a CEO of a company, and you're a recruiter after your first week, trying to get a specification about an industry you don't know.
You got the imposter syndrome's real there, right?
Oh yeah.
You've got them on. You're speaking to a CEO or something. You're just in your head. You're just some nobody. Yeah, and it's like you put them on a massive pedestal, haven't you? At that time, I remember everyone does that.
Yeah, it was tough. You get your hand shaking every decision maker that speaks to you. You're like, oh.
So, just going back then, if you could, like when you first started, then BMS recruitment, if you could, what would you go back and tell? Like these maybe just some kind of lessons for someone first starting recruitment. What would you tell your 25-year-old self day one, walking to BMS, if you could?
Oh, that's a difficult question. There's so many things I want to tell myself, but I think if I just put it into just one big theme, I would say just work hard and everything will be okay. Don't be too hard on yourself. I think there's this pressure where if you're being taught something, if your coach told you to do this and you just can't get it, and the results is not there, I think you kind of doubt yourself that is this really the role for you. But I think if you have the work ethic, I think I saw you got the work ethic. I think I'm not trying to be be egoistic, but I think I work pretty hard as well.
Yeah.
So I think if you have the care, if you care about your job and you work hard and you enjoy what you do, I think
there's some things like you did work hard. Like what are some things maybe you like didn't necessarily do that you could go back and be like, right, this is what, obviously you did work hard, you threw yourself into it, you made the sort of mistakes necessary to grow up and develop. But like if there's some other things that you maybe could have done sooner or something like that, what would you say?
What I could have done sooner? You're asking me a very tough question here, mate. I think there's a lot of different things that I could have done sooner retrospectively. I think a lot of it happened at the right time.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Like the lessons were learned for a reason, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think when it comes to recruitment, you get those highs and lows, and when you're at that high, you feel like, okay, there's nothing else to be learned. But then the next day, you'll be like, oh, I don't know anything. But I think
like you're happy for the mistakes you made. You want that person to make those mistakes. So you wouldn't be like, don't do that because you wouldn't learn, right?
What do we tell new starters like Lavina and Isa? We tell them to make a lot of mistakes, right? So that we can give them feedback. I think one thing, actually, now that I've talked to you and thought about it, I think one thing that I could have done from the beginning is train myself to be organized, more organized. Yeah. I feel like I was so focused on the actions, making a lot of calls, doing emails, but I kind of neglected the organization side of things. Kind of like I was relying a lot on my memory. Back then it was pretty good. Now that I'm getting closer to 40, 50, I think my memory is failing me a little bit. So I think I'm starting to be better at it now because I got more responsibilities and a lot of things to to remember in action. So I think now it's good. But if I could have done it earlier, I think I would have been a bit better.
Yeah. That's what one of my old bosses always said. You need, in this job, you need to be either really organised or have a great memory. Kind of one, not sort of half-heart. Like just make sure you're in one of those camps. I'm not sure why I sit actually.
Yeah. I think having a good memory always fails you because you can only remember so much. There's going to be a point where that memory will fail you 100%. So
no, agreed.
I feel like you have to be organized.
So, turning the chat to the future, just kicked off a new year. What's ahead? What's ahead for Adam Sampana? What are you looking to achieve in the next year, next couple of years? What can I expect from you?
What, professionally or personally?
Whatever, anything. Well, maybe both. Yeah.
I don't know if it's appropriate if I tell you my personal goal because it's relating to fitness. I think you know what I mean.
Whatever springs to mind.
Are you sure? Like, do we have the right audience for my answer?
All right. How about one personal, one professional, one financial?
Okay. I'd start with personal.
Okay.
Right? Don't laugh. So I want to see my abs, like six abs this year. Okay.
This year.
This year. So by probably my aim is to get that before summer this year.
All right.
Okay. So that's personal.
Yeah.
I'll do the professional one last. Financially, I want to make sure that I have a strong foundation when it comes to my emergency fund.
All right.
Yeah, I think my emergency fund is quite good, but leveling it up to the next one because me and you, I'm not gonna get into the details, but December last year was a pretty tough period for us, and I think the value of having that hefty foundation of financially.
Hefty, was it? All right.
Hefty. It is quite important because it kind of gives you the power to help other people out without scrapping.
Yeah. So you want to build that back up again? That hefty fund.
Yeah. No, trying to get to the hefty level. Sorry.
Okay, mate. Okay.
Yeah. Not hefty at the moment. It's quite dwindled down.
Okay.
Professionally, I think as a team, team techie, I want to get someone in Melbourne alongside you, create the atmosphere again, and also build that the technical recruitment side of BMS. I think we have a very strong sales recruitment business and operation. And I think clients are quite happy with what we're doing. I think I want to make sure that we're capitalizing on the clients that we have and get those technical roles as well.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
And grow the team.
And one final question, and
please don't make it too hard, mate.
This can go any way, but you can take it as you like. Success. This is a kind of broad question, but I'm always thinking about, like what is success? What is, and I know it means a lot of things to different people. What does success mean to you?
Okay, two things actually. Number one, making sure that the people around me outside of work, they're happy, and mental well-being is on the priority. Number two is for people around me at work, Lavina, Isa, yourself, to become better than us, pretty much. So to Lavina to pretty much almost replace me, or Isa to take that next step.
They're quite specific, and they're quite current. Like just more like general. Like what is
that is I think I just made it specific, but that's the general gist of it is to make people around me better.
Yeah. Well, I like it, mate. Well, look, this chat was
to see my abs. Sorry, to see my abs. That's success this year.
Pretty vain. Love it. Thanks for that, mate, and thanks for the chat. That was kind of exactly what I hoped to go down, dig into a little bit more about what makes you tick, talk about some of your experiences, and I got what I wanted. I wanted to find out some new stuff about you, which I definitely did. So yeah, thanks a lot for coming on. And
all good, mate.
yeah, anyone who listened, I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, we'll look forward to hearing from you soon. Cheers.